Psylocke, aka Elizabeth Betsy Braddock, first hit the scene in Marvel UK's 1967 Captain Britain issue 8 as the sister of the title character, a supportive character in her twin brothers' narratives. It wasn't until 1986 that Betsy would become more than just a precognitive, now presented as Psylocke, a mutant telepath whose mind would be placed in the body of a female ninja named Kwannon, inheriting the woman's martial arts skills and parts of her personality. That little body switch has been highly controversial for some. It was a makeover that made the character wildly popular but wildly racially problematic. Regardless, that popularity over the past couple of decades has made Psylocke a staple in many stories that occur outside of the main 616 timeline, which brings us to our list today, the top 10 alternate versions of Psylocke. Let's get to it. Starting us off in at number 10, the Age of Apocalypse Psylocke. The Age of Apocalypse Betsy Braddock is from Earth 295 and has a mysterious past. She's still Brian Braddock's sister, she's still British, and she still took on an Asian body with ninja characteristics. Since we don't know her history on this Earth though, there's a lot of speculation that her transformation into Kwannon's body is thanks to genetic manipulation, potentially at the hands of Dark Beast or Sinister. This version actually didn't appear in the original Age of Apocalypse storyline, which has prompted fans to theorize that she was one of the many telepaths whose brains were harvested by Apocalypse to be part of his telepathic security perimeter at his citadel. Despite this, Psylocke appears in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Volume 1, which disproves this theory. She was just kind of injected into the series along with other well-known X-Men characters, likely out of a need to create a familiarity for readers. And make dollars! You know it's true. In at number 9, Earth 12928. A little something different at this number. Betsy of Earth 12928 is known as Magistrate Braddock. This reality, sometimes referred to as the future uncanny X-Force reality, is one where Apocalypse has ascended further, becoming Earth's greatest threat. Wolverine is the leader of the rebellion in this reality, having gathered together a resistance team called X-Force, who then killed Apocalypse, which then made them celebrated war heroes. But the world itself had changed, with members of the X-Force now being elected into political positions of power in order to ensure that no threat like Apocalypse would ever rear its ugly head again. Within a few years, pretty much every criminal had been terminated, prompting the X-Force to begin to target potential criminals, preemptively assassinating them before they even committed a crime. So clearly, it evolved into a totalitarian regime. That's where our girl Betsy comes in. For starters, she is in a relationship with Logan, and she is the leader of the X-Force. Plus, she basically becomes the ruler of the world by the time the X-Force takes control of the globe. When the X-Force from the past visit this future timeline, this version of Psylocke orders her X-Force to hunt them down and send them back. And her 616 self is horrified by her future self, to the point where she tries to commit suicide to prevent her future self from even occurring, which fails. But they do have a bit of a kiki, so there's that. Moving on to number 8, Age of X. Hailing from Earth 11326, also known as the Age of X timeline, this version of Psylocke comes from a world filled with anti-mutant propaganda. After an incident in Albany that causes a deadly explosion thanks to a young mutant's powers manifesting, anti-mutant legislation comes into place, along with a group of mutant-hunting robots known as exonyms. The Psylocke of this reality was part of a general expulsion of families who carried the X gene in the United Kingdom, with governments planning on exiling these families to a group of small islands in the Irish Sea. That did not work out too well, because Irish separatists bombed one of the boats filled with mutants heading there. Betsy's ship was seized by the Mutant Liberation Front in the process, porting in Canada, allowing Psylocke to eventually join up with the mutant resistance. It's worth noting that this version of Betsy still occupies her British body. Up next at number 7, House of M. This Psylocke hails from Earth 58163, the House of M reality. Now for context, the House of M reality takes place in the late 20th century, in which a war has broken out between mutants and humans. Mutants were initially driven into hiding by humans, and civil wars broke out between humans and mutants in various countries. The first strike back against humans was led by Magneto, using his powers to destroy a fleet of Sentinels, with that conflict being broadcast throughout the world. But let's take a look at Psylocke now. Here, she is known as Princess Royal, the sister of the monarch of the United Kingdom. Being the rightful heir to the throne, since she's actually a few minutes older than her twin brother Brian, she actually decided to step down and give it to him as a favor. Why? Well, she had other ambitions, like traveling and adventuring with her lady-in-waiting, Rachel Gray, versus having to run a country. I get that. Moving on to number 6, Earth X. Earth X, also known as Earth 9997, is a pretty whack reality. The entire world has mutated thanks to the release of Terrigen Mists. Franklin Richard is Galactus in this universe, people, and everyone in this reality has superhuman abilities, including regular civilians. This Betsy Braddock's past mirrors that of her 616 reality, diverging at some point prior to the Terrigen Mists release, with Betsy having been trained in the ways of magic. A telepath, this magic would protect her from this universe's version of Red Skull, who was a young dude named Skull, who would cause the death of almost every telepath on Earth. While we don't know the full extent of her magical powers, we do know that she was trained by Merlin and Roma, brought into the Siege Perilous, and eventually became Doctor Strange's apprentice because of it. She has a permanent telekinetic butterfly of sorts around her face, which has been speculated to be a reflection of her enhanced psychic abilities. Up next in our number 5 spot, the Ultimate Marvel Psylocke. Psylocke of the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610 is Elizabeth Braddock, a mutant telepath who joined the Psi Division of Strike, which is the British division of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was tasked with having to locate David Xavier, aka Proteus, after he escaped a medical facility on Muir Island. During the confrontation with the reality-warping telepathic mutant, Psylocke was killed when David jumped into her mind, hiding within her, luring his parents and the X-Men to Germany, claiming that Psylocke's powers had tracked Proteus there. Charles figured it out though, seeing as Betsy's mannerisms had changed, being more of a teenage boy's than a grown woman's. It's kind of a dead giveaway. Proteus would then drop the charade and transform Betsy's body to resemble his own. While trying to kill Charles, Psylocke's personality kicked in, preventing Proteus from doing so and jamming his powers. In the aftermath, it was assumed that she was dead, but instead her mind made contact with a young Asian woman named Kwannon, who was in a coma. Kwannon was relieved to move on and pass away, with Betsy taking over her body in return. Moving on to number 4, Ultimate Marvel Impostor. From one Ultimate Psylocke to the next, this one is from Earth 1610, and it's an imposter of our previous number. Known only as Psylocke, she was a mutant who impersonated the original, created by the Mother Vine, an aggressive biotech enhancement tailored to engineer mutant childbirths. This imposter would infiltrate the mutant resistance, going with them to Utopia, using her telepathy to manipulate mutants into working against one another. Jean Grey would discover that she was actually a hybrid and had a servant of hers kill the imposter. What made her so convincing, though, was the fact that she had the same psionic abilities as her namesake and was even described as being an Omega-level telepath, capable of subtly manipulating the minds of others without them even being aware of the fact that she was doing it. Plus, she was able to use her telepathy to mask the fact that she was an imposter, and hey, that's pretty impressive. Up next, number 3, 5 Ronin Psylocke. Earth TRN 150, home of the 5 Ronin limited series, is a place where Marvel characters are reimagined as Ronin, the masterless samurai of 17th century Japan. In issue 4 of the series, titled Psylocke, we are introduced to this alternate version whose name is Ochio Braddock, a British-Japanese Oran who works at a brothel. Her nickname is Butterfly thanks to her ability to read minds. One day at the brothel, the Wolverine Ronin alternate shows up, selecting Butterfly to get jiggy with him. It's revealed to her that he had a plan to kill the daimyo, a feudal Japan warlord who Butterfly herself wanted to kill. The two of them duel until Wolverine Ronin questions her anger, saying it should not be at the daimyo that she's angry at, but her father for abandoning her and killing himself, leaving her in this position. Technically defeated by Wolverine, the Psylocke then contemplates this and eventually comes to terms with the fact that he is right. Moving on to number 2, Days of Future Past Psylocke. The Days of Future Past Psylocke hails from Earth 811, and here she's known as the Red Queen. She's part of the Hellfire Club, having become corrupt at some point in her past, joining up with them and capturing Scarlet Witch with them. The group uses Wanda's probability-altering powers to cause worldwide disasters, so yeah, she's a bit of a baddie in this timeline. She would be wounded by Wolverine and his task force, who broke into the Hellfire Club's stronghold in order to retrieve Scarlet Witch. Wolverine would also capture Betsy and then ship her off to her brother Brian in hopes that her twin would be able to restore her to her old self. But hey, at least she had a dope outfit when she was a big bad. That counts for something, right? And finally, in at number 1, Kwannon. We had to end with Kwannon, people. So, one of the most recent revelations in contemporary X-Men stories is that Kwannon, the Japanese woman whose body Betsy would take over, is now an actual realized character in the 616 universe. According to her origin story, she was an assassin raised by the Hand, and in 2019, the character was resurrected and returned to her original body. Starring in an X-Men spin-off called Fallen Angels, initially using the codename Psylocke, she was a low-level empath mutant. But then after swapping bodies with Psylocke, she had gained a new set of telepathic powers, along with the ability to generate Psylocke's Psyblade. Kwannon goes by the name of Revanche now, which means policy designed to recover lost territory or status. How fitting. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other alternate versions of Psylocke do you dig? Give us a shout in those comments below and share your thoughts and feels with us. If you liked this video, you'll know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd if you haven't already. We'd love it if you stuck around with us some more. In the meantime, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.